acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. We need to be ready. And what is most important in being ready? What is most important for us in being prepared, in being ready for God? God cares most about the intentions of our hearts. It is difficult to know the intentions of someone's heart. Our intentions and motivations can be mysterious, even to ourselves. But if we are to grow as disciples of Jesus, we must practice being aware of the intentions of our hearts. Let's practice for looking for clues about the intentions of our hearts by considering the work of two men. Their names are John and Greg. In 1999, John traveled to Nepal. During his travels, he visited many villages. He was impressed by the local children. He noticed that most of them had no schools and no books. John decided to quit his very good job at Microsoft in order to create an organization dedicated to helping children learn how to read and write. John began to work with a man from Nepal. Together they founded a nonprofit organization called Room to Read. Beginning in 2001 in Nepal, Room to Read has built schools, established libraries, distributed books, and funded education for girls. In the years since then, Room to Read has established field operations in Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Zambia. In the past 16 years, this nonprofit organization has built more than 1,400 schools, established more than 12,000 libraries, distributed 18 million children's books, and funded educational scholarships for over 38,000 girls. Have you ever heard John's story before? I had not heard it until a few days ago. John wrote an account of his work in 2006. His book is titled, Leaving Microsoft to Change the World. Raise your hand if you've ever read it. Anybody ever read it? I haven't read it either. Most people have never heard of John's book. What are John's intentions? We cannot be certain of John's intentions, but it seems that his intentions are simple. It seems pretty clear that John's intentions are to help children. John's intentions are to help children in places of poverty and other nations and help them learn to read and write. John has certainly accomplished goals in accordance with these intentions. What do you say? In 1993, a man named Greg traveled to Pakistan. During his travels, he was taken in by people in remote villages. In gratitude for their hospitality, he promised to build a school for the children in the village. Greg had difficulties raising funds for this work. Eventually, he was introduced to a wealthy man in California who agreed to support him. Together, they founded the Central Asia Institute. The mission of the Central Asia Institute is to help people, especially children, girls, and women in remote villages in Pakistan and Afghanistan. According to its website, the Central Asia Institute builds schools, pays teacher salaries, provides funds for public health projects, and provides funds for literacy programs for women. According to its website, the Central Asia Institute has built 190 schools in the past 20 years. Have you ever heard Greg's story before? I think you have. At least some people have. I've been hearing and reading about it for 9 or 10 years. Millions of people all around the world have read about read. Everybody in my family read it, actually except for me, I didn't read it, but everybody else did. Millions of people have read 3 Cups of Tea. It was at or near the top of the New York Times bestsellers list for 3 years and has been translated into 24 languages. However, unlike John's organization, it seems that Greg's organization was probably better at selling books than at building schools or helping people in far-off places. We will probably never know the entire story of what happened to all the money that is being donated to the Central Asian Institute. But in recent years, we have learned that many of the schools built by the organization are not functioning as schools. That many of those 190 buildings were never used as school buildings. It seems likely that a significant portion of the funds donated to the Central Asian Institute are either used to support Greg and other people who work at the organization, or are used for projects that fail to achieve their goals. So what are Greg's intentions? It seems his intentions are complicated. Greg probably intends to help children learn to read and write. I have no doubt that he has some of that intention. He probably intends to help people who live in these villages in Pakistan and Afghanistan. But it seems that he probably also has some other intentions. It seems Greg has spent more time and energy publicizing the story and talking to crowds of people in very comfortable places, more time than he has spent helping people in much less comfortable places. I'm not telling you Greg's story in order to cast judgment on him. I have to tell you that judgment really has come from many respective sources. The New York Times, 60 Minutes television program, and the widely acclaimed author, John Krakauer, wrote a book about it. But I'm telling you Greg's story because when it comes to the intentions of our hearts, we need to be aware that our stories can end up being very similar to Greg's story. This is the message of the opening chapter of the book of Isaiah. Isaiah's people, the people of ancient Israel, had a long tradition of sacrificing the best animals of their herds to God as offerings during worship. And God has had enough of it. The multitude of your sacrifices, what are they to me? I have more than enough of burnt offerings, of rams and the fat of fattened animals. I have no pleasure in the blood of bulls and lambs and goats. God is like a judge, cross-examining a witness in the stand. God asks, when you come to appear before me, who has asked this of you, this trampling of my courts? Your incense is detestable to me. For me, the first chapter of Isaiah is a shock of electricity racing through my heart. For me, as someone who plans and leads the sometimes elaborate rituals of worship, this passage is the moment when my heart is struck with awe that we are hearing God's words. God rails out against our extravagant sacrifices, new moons, Sabbaths, and convocations. I cannot bear your worthless assemblies, your new moon feasts and your appointed festivals. I hate with all my being. Where else in Scripture do we hear God saying, I hate this thing you're doing? They have become a burden to me. I am weary of bearing them. It is not just that these fancy worship services are pointless, they are actually a burden to God. The elaborate worship services, the favorite traditions of the people, have actually become a barrier that is keeping them away from God. When you spread out your hands in prayer, I hide my eyes from you. Even when you offer many prayers, I am not listening. Your hands are full of blood. Learn to do right. Seek justice. Defend the oppressed. Take up the cause of the orphan. Plead the cause of the widow. God has no desire for elaborate rituals and extravagant offerings. God's desire is for love and justice. God's desire is for the pure intentions of our hearts. But our hearts are complicated. I can say I want to be faithful, but sometimes it seems that what I truly desire is fame or fortune. I can say I want to do the work of love and justice, but I could easily do work that builds up my own power or that supports the powerful. Isaiah's point is that the intentions of our hearts can be headed in the exact wrong direction, even as we appear to be moving in the right direction. Isaiah's point is that we might be able to fool other people with the actions of our hands and the words of our mouths, but God does not care about what our hands seem to be doing or the elaborate, perfectly chosen words of our mouths. God cares about whether justice is being done for those in greatest need. God cares about whether we are acting with love for each other. God looks at the intentions of our hearts. Isaiah's point is that we often fool ourselves. We can fool ourselves by going through the motions of service without really caring about whether others are being served. We can fool ourselves by speaking of love without actually loving the people God has given us to love. We can fool ourselves by saying we want to change the world for the better without admitting there is only one person I can change. Me. The intentions of our hearts are not a public matter. The intentions of our hearts are between me and thee, between me and God. There is only one being who knows, and there will only ever be one being who ever really knows the intentions of my heart and the intentions of your heart. So I pray